Good evening. Good evening. It is the
What's
Carl.
going on?
I'm to Carl Williams, and you already know I'm with the GOAT.
Carla Harris, your coach and realtor.
Hey, so big week, big week. Listen, we're six in. I think this is our
Yes,
seventh episode. Going
seventh episode.
strong.
Man,
People,
look how time flies.
yeah. Consistency is the key, people.
Yeah.
Consistency is the key. So we made a slight change today for those of you that are newly joining us. Normally we go at 7 p.m., but today we're at a special time, 6 p.m., because we have a special guest that will be joining us, Miss Sylvia Crawley. So when she comes in, very excited for you guys to get to know her and hear her story.
Another basketball legend, man, in women's basketball. She's amazing.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off, man. Vivian Stringer
Whew.
announced his retirement. What does that mean to the game of basketball?
That's the one. That's the GOAT. Like, that's one of the legends in women's basketball. Like, she's right there with, God bless the dead, Pat Summons, hey, shout out to my sis, my big sis, Pat Summit, Gino Oriema, Stanford over there. I mean, like Bandit, like big time, like the GOAT. So we are losing a legend in the game on that side of the game, but I'm sure she'll remain involved in some kind of way in the women's game. Hopefully, we can see her on a board or somewhere in the women's game. So shout out to Coach Vivian Stringer for all the lives that she's touched. She's been amazing and inspiring to me. I used to run that 55 press
Ooh,
defense that she had. I studied it, put it in. We won state championship with that thing. Like that
55, baby.
55. It's amazing. So yeah, big shout out to her and congratulations to her on her retirement and best wishes, man. Best wishes.
Hey, Shelly Ann, you see what's going on.
Yeah. 2 and 5.
Yeah, but like you said, she's retiring from the game as a coach, but her impact and her legendary status will remain. The tutelage of not only players but coaches that have came from her tree are second to none.
Oh,
They're
for sure.
second to none.
Her legacy will live on. Like she may no longer be on the sideline herself, but she will be on the sidelines for years to come because her players are on the sidelines in many arenas, from the high school game to the collegiate game. So she'll be on the sideline in some way, no matter what.
Absolutely. We actually have one of her former players at the Aggies, baby, Texas A&M, Chelsea Newton. So you
Yeah,
already know, gig 'em Aggies.
Eagle Maggie's. Yeah. I enjoy watching Newton play. She used to be on the top of that 55, so it was a pleasure watching her play when she played over that record. So yeah, awesome job over there.
So when you did incorporate the 55 press, what were the things that you were looking to gain from that?
Well, I had a lot of bodies, and I think a high school game is different from the collegiate game. The collegiate game, you're able to go out and find the pieces to fit whatever system you're running. Unfortunately, for high school, you almost have to adjust your system yearly according to the pieces you have. So when that year I had like a lot of bodies, so we wanted to get up and down and a way to use a lot of people to get a lot of people on the floor. So we played an up tempo game fast. I had long arm guard, so it was great to have them on top of that and the chase and the get them in the trap. It was amazing. It was amazing.
So you were playing fast.
Oh, we were playing fast. We were playing get them up and down. And people who know me know I usually don't play that fast. I like a control game. You'll play against my high school, and we're gonna play a control half court game most of the time. But that year we had the bodies and we had the players to run in and out the game, and so we were getting up and down the floor.
See, I think that's very important too. Something that you just touched on is about adjusting to the personnel that you
Yeah.
have.
Oh,
Um, you may want to play fast all the time because you do have some people that want to play fast all the time, and they're going to force their team to play that way, even though the makeup of the
personnel.
team, yeah, like KYP, people know your personnel.
You know your personnel. You definitely have to know your personnel. And on the high school level, you're just not able to do every system or every set that I may have had. I couldn't run it every year because I just didn't have the bodies or the personnel to fit and make it work effectively. So you have to adjust. Have to adjust.
Yeah, and even staying with the WNBA, speaking of adjustments, we've had some player movement in the WNBA this past week. Tia Cooper, released by the LA Sparks. Kayla Pointer, rookie out of LSU, has been released by the Las Vegas Aces. So, we talked about this in one of the episodes before. Nobody's safe when it comes to making the team in the WNBA.
Right. I mean, the women's game has grown. So when you get on these teams, whether drafted or undrafted, you have to go out there and really compete on a high level because one, there aren't a lot of teams, which means that there aren't a lot of slots. So you have to go out there every day and compete on a high level. An injury could get you waived because you're just not there. Talk about your instance where you're injured, so it was hard for you to compete at that level. So a lot of young ladies don't understand it. Day in and day out, you have to compete on a high level in the sprints, in the drills, and the 5-on-5, having the right attitude. All those things factor in because there's always somebody waiting in the rim to take that spot, or they got to just get their numbers down to meet the quota.
Yeah, and sometimes it is a matter of, like what you just said, personnel. What
Yeah.
if I have too many guards? And it's not to say that, you're not good enough to play. You just may not fit the mold and the system of the current team that you're trying out for.
Well,
And
that's true. That's true.
and
Maybe
it's
the
not a
LA
knock on the
Sparks.
player.
Right.
It's not a knock on the player. It's just, sometimes we don't fit. But like you said, there's a limited amount of teams. There's 144 players that make the WNBA roster.
Mm-hmm.
There are thousands of people trying to make it. You're not only competing with people that have played and may have gotten released last year. You're competing with people coming from overseas. You're competing with the college kids that's trying to make it to undrafted free agents. There's so many different intangibles that go into that. You have to set yourself apart. Like, you really have to understand what it means to be a pro.
Definitely, day in and day out, and everyone's not may not be committed to that. But like you said, it could be you just don't fit that system, and there may be a team that you fit their system better. So those ladies could get picked up somewhere else. We just have to wait and see how it pans out.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a fact. There is still time. There is still time, even though you may get cut from one team or released or waived, however you want to word it. You can't get picked up by another team. And even in the WNBA now, you were telling me earlier about the jerseys with Brittany Griner, and her name on the court. And just fill the audience in a little bit more about what
Well,
you
I've
were
been
telling
trying
me.
to stay abreast on this situation, really praying for her and her safe return. But the WNBA will be honoring her by placing her number on their jerseys and I believe something on the court in every arena. And
Yep.
they've also updated her status as if she's being detained unlawfully. So that may help in her legal rights and may be able to help the U.S. go in and make a fight for her to get her back home. So we're looking forward to something positive coming out of this for her. And I respect and admire the way the WNBA is not forgetting her. She's been great for the game. So I'm glad that they are making a stance and making sure her name isn't forgotten. And just it would be sad to just move on into a season and we have one of our greats over in another country, held unlawfully. So I'm excited for them doing that, and we hope to be able to get her home safely soon.
Yep. And sometimes, it's people working in the background. It may not be as talked about as much as many things are, but there are people in the background working to secure and try to get her back home.
Yeah,
We definitely have prayers for her family, and we definitely want her to have a safe arrival from there to here. So we definitely want to keep that in good spirits. With that being said, we do have our special guest in studio. We're going to bring her on now. Miss Sylvia Crowley, how are you, my WNBA sister?
I'm good. How are you guys tonight?
awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome, welcome.
Thank
We are
you.
so glad that you can join us. Can't wait for you to talk to the audience about everything that you have going on. I'm not going to talk so much, so I want you to tell the audience, who is Sylvia Crowley?
First of all, thank you guys for having me on this show. I'm just going to go ahead and warn y'all, every podcast I've ever done, they always need a part two. So
Let's do it.
but who is Sylvia Crawley? First of all, I'm a child of God. So my identity is who God says I am. So I am the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. I am the apple of his eye. I am the lender and not the borrower. I am first and not last. I am blessed. I am more than a conqueror. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can go on and on and on.
I love it. I love it.
But secondly, I'm a wife of Pastor Brian Spann. He's not the senior pastor, so I'm not quite the first lady.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
I said, God's still working on me. I still want to sit like me in the front, but I don't sit in the back. I don't want to hug 5 people and tell them I love you. I just want to get the word and go on home. So he's a pastor. He loves God. He loves people. He loves to connect. Very social butterfly. I'm also the daughter of James and Marie Crawley, who actually live with me. They're 80 years old, hilariously funny. People keep saying, y'all need a reality show. I'm like, y'all are not ready for our reality. Like I edit the stuff that I post on social media about them first. So we're not ready for live cameras.
That's awesome.
I'm the sister of Helen Crawley Austin, who is my business partner, co-owner for the Bull City Blazers. This is the new fantasy women's basketball franchise that we just bought. I'm the CEO. She's the CFO. My brother, we're different, but we're very similar in many ways. And so we have that sister jump off sometimes. And my brother, the late Dr. Rex Crowley, would often say, you guys could figure out how to put your differences aside and put your gifts and talents together, y'all will take over the world. So just a month ago, I think we became owners of a franchise. And I said, well, he said we were going to take over the world. We just never imagined it was the metaverse that we'd be taking over.
Right.
Taking over the metaverse. And I'm an auntie to 3 nieces and 2 nephews. So that is who Sylvia Crawley is.
Man, that's amazing. First of all, I want to say I enjoy watching you play. I think you are just a legend in your own right, and great for the game, for the women's game. And congratulations. I'm so excited too about this metaverse, like how it's just transforming. I mean, tell everybody about the team and how it's going to work out.
Okay, so we just did a room on Clubhouse. Was it night before last about this? Because people have a lot of questions about it, and we're still learning. We don't know everything about it, but we're not letting fear paralyze us. My sister and I are both risk takers. We both marry very cautious men who they do their research. They're gonna, find out all the parameters about it. They're gonna read about it, and we're just like, look, the best way for us to learn is just jump head first in. So the league is called the UFWBA, and it mirrors the WNBA. What I love about it is that it's going to make people pay close attention to the WNBA. So we'll gain more fans just from having this fantasy league. And so we did the draft last week. So there was an auction for each team, right? So if the WNBA has 12 teams, then we had 12 people, 12 people could win a team. There were more. I think we had 16 people bidding. The top 12 bids got a team, and the highest bid got the first round draft pick for every round. So I had a budget. I was like, all right, this is how much I want to spend because, I could get out of control. So it got to my budget. Somebody beat me in an offer that was my budget, right? So I was like, and there was only 2 minutes left. Like they gave us a shot clock. So there was 2 minutes left in the auction. And I was like, babe, somebody just outbid me. They went to my budget. I'm out of money. He was like, how much do you need to win? And it was in increments of $50. I said, I need $50 more. He was like, I'm cash apping you right now. Do it. And the clock, I was like, boom. And so if nobody bids for 2 minutes straight, then the auction is over. But if somebody else would have win, they put 2 more minutes back on the clock, and they'll keep doing that and let it be a bidding war because ultimately this company want to make money, right?
Right.
So I won the bid. My competitive nature kicked in and got the best. So I hired a GM around Final Four time. I went to Minneapolis, talked to some people. I was like, nah. I found this guy who's a podcaster for the WNBA. He's not really a podcaster, but he gets on Clubhouse with all the other podcasters and they debate about different players and stuff. So I've been in some rooms with him. So I kind of been vetting him from afar. He also was familiar with fantasy sports. Like I'm familiar with the league and the players and their salaries and stuff like that. But I didn't know about fantasy sports. Like I've never, because we were athletes, so we weren't allowed to gamble. So we weren't on that. Well, he does fantasy football and NBA, like he does different sports. So very familiar with it. He educated me on some of that stuff. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, that's my guy right there. Like I have the gift of discernment. I can like discern good people. I know good people when I see them. I had a really good feeling about him. We vibed instantly. So boom, I hired him. And so he put together a war board, him and I. They was like, okay, here's who we want to pick at point guard. And here's 5 other people, like this is our plan, A, B, C, D, E, right? Here's who we want as a center. And then we got A, B, C, D, E. And so we pulled their salaries, right? Because we had a $1.4 million salary cap.
Virtual. Oh, wow. Okay.
Virtual. I was like, is this coming out of my pocket? We had virtual money. I was like, okay. But the salary cap changed everything, right? Because first round draft pick, we picked Skylar Diggins, right?
Oh, okay.
We felt like there's a shortage of really good, efficient guards, right? Because fantasy sports, you get points for assists, but it's minus points for turnovers, right? You get points for 2 points and 3-pointers, but it's minus points like for the field goal percentage. That plays into it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So really high proficient point guards, there's only a few. Now there's forwards for days, right?
Yeah.
Forwards, like the forward/center position. There's tons of them. So we were like, all right, we're going point guard first. And so we had 2 in mind. Yeah. So now you got to think about marketability because we got to create NFTs of our roster, right? So Skylar Diggins, highly marketable, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I feel good about Skylar. She shoots a high percentage. She has assists. Her assist to turnover ratio is good. I felt good about that. So, okay, once we drafted Skylar first pick, then other people got their picks, right? Two owners were absent. And so in the event that you're absent, it go like the commissioner of the league did an auto draft. So the next available person got automatically sent to the people who weren't there.
Oh, wow.
That messed us up because, okay, so for example, I really wanted, we at the center position, we were going to pick Tina Charles.
Okay.
Or Jonquil Jones if Tina Charles was available, right? I really like Jones. Like I love her because she shoots threes too. So you're gonna get points. High percentage from the 3-point line, right? So the auto draft picked Tina Charles, and then the other auto draft picked Jonquil Jones. And I was like, wait a minute. Because a lot of the owners I didn't feel were up on the WNBA like we were, right? I played in the WNBA, so I had an advantage. So I didn't think like they put out the UFWBA put out a spreadsheet of like top ranked players. They did their little research, but when we looked at it, it was different from our sheet that we put together. Really, right? These are their real stats over the course of their career. They just did their last year's stats, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at their body of work. And we're looking at how old they are, right? And to go down, we're factoring all that in. So we felt like the auto draft picked some people that if those people were present, they probably wouldn't have picked those people.
Correct.
Like Jonquil Jones, I feel like they wouldn't have picked her. They might have picked Tina Charles because she's ranked high for rebounds and points. But Jonquil Jones, unless you watch the league, you don't really know about her. She's a diamond in the rough. So
exactly.
I felt like the auto draft screwed us, man. It messed us up. And so now, like we had our plan A, B, C, D. We looking to the E like, oh,
Yeah.
like, Blue Sea Blazers, you're up for the next pick. And we had like a minute to say who we picked in the, you know, first pick, second round, we choose. And then we said the player's name. So we were like looking up stats, looking up salaries, like, oh, the draft went nothing like we imagined it would go. We were so prepared. We met so many times about it. I said, I will never, ever critique a draft pick in my life.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because that was my next question.
So many things could happen. Like that happened to me in real life. Like when the ABL folded,
yes,
they had 20 spots open for the ABL players to transfer to the WNBA. And I had just won a slam dunk contest blindfolded. So my agent had called all the coaches in the league and was like, hey, do you think she'll get drafted? They're like, yeah, there's a shortage of centers. She won a blindfold dunk for sure. She might not go first round, but she'll go late second round. Worst case scenario, early third round. So I'm like, bet before the draft, I knew where I was going to be drafted. I thought. So the day of the draft, but the first round happened, second round happened, third round happened. My name still wasn't called. So I'm on the phone with my agent like, what?
Wow.
And so what happened was I got bumped out of the draft. Somebody picked somebody that nobody thought they would pick, and it bumped the whole draft down, and I got bumped off the end. Wow. I was having a draft party at my house. I had like all my boys I play pickup every day to stay in shape. So all my boys was in the house. We got pizza. We got, you know, food, all kind of food. One name, one call. I was like, everybody out.
Oh, no.
I was laying face down on a carpet like, Lord, what's my next step, you know? And so I understood, like when I went through this draft, I understood how that could happen to me and many other people get bumped down out of the draft because somebody picked something that nobody expected. Like this year in the WNBA draft, Indiana picked Lexi Hall.
Right.
I think her name. Yeah. And everybody was like, wow, you know, like she's a good player. No disrespect towards her. You know, I don't want to take anything from her, but people weren't expecting that pick. Yeah. Now, Indiana, who, you know, I coached for Indiana Fever under Lynn Dunn, who's now, you know, the GM over there. When I tell you Lynn Dunn got guts for days, right? A lot of people will pick who people think they should pick.
Yep.
Right? You know what I mean? Like if you got the first round draft pick, if you don't pick Ryan Howard coming out of Kentucky, people are like, what's wrong with you? But you might not even need a Ryan Howard. You might need a center.
Yeah.
But because you got this pressure on you to keep your job as a GM, you'll pick somebody you're not supposed to pick. Whereas Lynn Dunn, she don't care what you think about her. She ain't worrying about job security. She's already retired twice, right?
She had like 4 picks though, right?
Yeah. They're rebuilding that team. And so she picked what she needed. And nobody else expected that. And that bumped I thought Henderson would go higher. But I think
that was my one. I said, that's my big surprise. I was like,
but I wasn't surprised once I saw Lexi Hall pick. I mean, that was going to shift everything because nobody was expecting that. Right. And so I get it now. I've been on all sides of the draft. And, you know, when I got hired for Indiana Fever, I got hired late. So I wasn't part of creating the war board. When I got hired, the war board was already created, right? And so what happens for the WNBA teams is you have this war board up here, draft board, we call it the war board. And if you want to put somebody else, because I looked at the board and was like, I would have thought that such and such would be up there. And Lynn Dunn was like, well, tell me who she should replace and why. You got to defend your stance, right?
Yeah.
And go round and round with Lynn. And if it made sense, she would replace her. But if it ain't make sense, you keep quiet.
Right.
So I got in on the tail end of it, right? So I wasn't a part of kind of what it took to get there with the scouts and all that kind of stuff. Let me put my phone on, do not disturb. And so now I get it. I can see it with a 360-degree view. Like I've been a player and a coach in college, in the league, and I've been a commentator for ESPN too. So I have a very unique perspective about the game. And I was one of 7 players who played and coached at the same time. So I played, my first coaching job was at the University of North Carolina. I had a 9-month prorated contract. Only made $35,000 at that time.
What?
I had a 3-month contract with Portland Fire, so I played and coached simultaneously for 2 years.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, fast forward, I went back to North Carolina as an assistant, and I made $153,000. So I've come a long way from my $35,000. Thanks
Right.
The 50th anniversary of Title IX this year. So it's just been amazing how I've been able to see the game from a 360-degree perspective.
Yeah, and speaking of North Carolina, talk about your stint at North Carolina and playing for Sylvia Hatchell.
Oh, it's an incredible experience to work for the coach that you played for.
Yep.
Because you bring a unique perspective to the coaches huddle. Like, for example, our players had some traditions where they had no idea why they were doing those things. Like, they would go out of the locker room and tap the top of the door, and the door comes here to me, right? I had to bend down to get out the door, and I would tap the top of the door to make sure I didn't hit my head. Tapping the top, point guards tapping the top of the door, but that's just how you leave the locker room. And I said, why are y'all doing that? They said, well, no, the players before us did it, so we just kept doing it. I said, let me tell you why you did this. Because this is Carmichael Auditorium, where Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, those guys was 7 feet tall. And they had to leave out of the same little door. So to keep from hitting their head, they put their hand on the top of the door and they ducked to go underneath. And now today, in 2016, you're still doing that, but you have no idea why.
Yeah.
Know your history.
Oh, you know what I mean? But there was no coach in the locker room passing down that legacy. And then in a coach's huddle, things would happen, like a player would get suspended or, something would happen. And I would say, okay, well, what are we going to say to the players that filmed today? And they said, well, we're just going to tell them that da 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 da. And I would say, let me tell you what I just heard as somebody who plays for Coach Hatch, as a player for Coach Hatch. Let me tell you what I just heard you say. That it's our fault that da da da. And they're like, that's not what we said. I'm saying, I know that's not what you said.
That's what it sounds like.
Anybody in this room that's played for Coach Hatch, feel free to trump me right now. But this is what I hear you saying. And so I said, we just got to make sure we're not communicating that we're blaming the loss on the players. And so that was a perspective that they hadn't even thought about, right? But they had to consider it. And so they weren't happy about it. But when we went in the locker room, we knew exactly what we wanted to say and the best way for them to receive it. So I have the ability to switch from player to coach super quick because I did both in the same year. And I played for the coach that I work for. So it was an incredible experience to go back and see how far the program has come. Just dealing with the 50th anniversary of Title IX and seeing where the program was when I played there, how we busted everywhere, right? But that's back when the conferences really cared about the student athletes. So the Atlantic Coast Conference was really on the Atlantic Coast, right? Now you're going to Boston College, you're going to Miami, you're all over the place. They don't realize these kids are student athletes. They got exams. They don't care that they're flying from Miami to Boston. They're going to miss a lot of schoolwork.
Yeah. But
so we busted everywhere. Now they fly charter planes. Everybody got their own seat. You ain't got to share a seat or row or nothing with anybody. They literally don't go to restaurants anymore. Like when North Carolina arrives in our chartered flight, the bus is on the runway. Yeah. So you walk down the steps of the flight, you get on the bus, you ain't got to get your bag. Remember how freshmen had to carry the bags and help the trainers? Yeah. Ain't none of that. Because the people from the plane get the bags off, put them on the bus, right? So they ain't even got to work no more. Got heat. Because I was like, where's y'all's coats? We're going to Boston. Y'all don't have your coats on. They're like, we don't need coats, Coach Crowley. We just going to get off the plane, get right on the bus. Put their jacket like this, cover up their throat, and run to the bus. The bus is already warm. The bus pull up right at the hotel. They run to the hotel from the bus, and the food is catered when we get there. Like we used to have to go to a restaurant. You got 25 people with your team. So now you're there all night trying to get everybody's food, right? Because you didn't pre-order.
Yep.
Now you're there forever. Like it used to just take forever for a team to eat. Food is at the hotel.
Yeah.
Everybody meet in meeting room 3. We're gonna have a team meeting, look up your scout reports, you're gonna eat. I'm like, and that's where the team bonding happened on the bus. You was playing spades, you was playing cards. Now they're playing video games on their phones. Other people play video games. I'm like,
yeah, it changed.
Other people play, like I want to play. So it's just a different we were constantly trying to get our players to talk, like call the screens, say I'm weak side, let your player know you got her back. But it was just like pulling teeth to get players to talk nowadays because they don't talk. They just text. They're in the same house with you and text.
The non-verbal generation, they don't have to communicate like verbally, like everything is just via technology in some type of way. So it's definitely difficult to coach them into communicating on the floor. Yeah. But let us ask you something, Sylvia. Transition over the CC behind you. Tell us about the crossover, because that's a crossover for you. I love it. So how
crossover?
I love it.
So crossover to me means the ability to change from one direction to the other. And I like to add change of pace to that too.
There we go. Come on now.
So you might stutter step, slow your man, stand them up, and then cross over and go faster, right?
Yes,
so for me, that's what a crossover can do for you, do for me, or whoever. And so for me, I crossed over into entrepreneurship from sports. And I still work in the game of basketball. Like my call in life is to inspire and impact young hearts and minds. Yes. I think that is ages 15 to 25. So that's high school and college. That's my age group. I quickly learned that when I coached in the WNBA, I knew in the first week, like, this is not my age group.
Yeah.
I want to help people discover who they are. And in the league, you know who you are. You don't need no player development. You have arrived. In your mind, you think you have arrived. You don't know about now. You get cut and traded, right? So I like developing young hearts and minds and that kind of stuff. So anyways, crossing over to entrepreneurship from coaching, I've always been making clothes. Anybody who knows me, like I was 6 feet in the 6th grade with a size 12 shoe.
Wow.
If you wear crop pants or capris, you need to cash at me at S Crawley.
You started
wearing capris when it wasn't the style. Right? I was being picked on about how I water pants, me and Michael Jackson. So I had to make my own. I had to design my own Easter dress, my Christmas dress, because I had to say speeches. Like I come from a family where like you're gonna go to church and you're gonna say this speech.
Yeah,
like, that prepared me for what I did last week when I spoke in front of 3,000 people. I was very comfortable on stage because I've been saying Easter and Christmas speeches all my life in front of a crowd, right? So I designed my own dresses. When I got to high school, I designed my own prom dresses. I didn't want my stuff to look homemade, right? But I wanted the stuff that the other kids were wearing, like the cool jeans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I designed them. My mom made them. Eventually, I started designing so much stuff. My mom was like, look, I'm going to teach you how to make your own stuff. And you make it, because I don't know what vision you got in your head, right? So my mom taught me how to sew starting when I was like 8 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
And my mom started sewing when she was 8 years old. So my grandmother had 8 kids. They were all tall. My mom's about 5'10". So she's a short one in our house right now. Okay. But so this has been passed on from generation to generation. And so like when I was playing in Korea, while I was playing in the WNBA, I started a clothing line called EFOD Customs. And so I was making clothes for the Spurs and the Silver Stars. Like Adrienne still got suits. She's still the same size she was.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
Still wearing them same suits that I made her in 2003. So I've been doing this for a while. Like I would just make stuff, and it's not just clothes that I can make. Like my company is interior and fashion design.
Oh, nice.
So I could literally see someone on HGTV, and I'll be like, I bet you I can make that. and I go to sleep that night. And when I wake up, and me and my mom will be like, you know how we can make that? Oh, we got so we go to Lowe's. People at Lowe's don't even speak to us. They'll be like, what y'all making now? Like, we're making a headboard. We're making an outdoor grill. We're making all kind of stuff. So I used to just, while I was coaching, my outlet from coaching was I would come home and I'd make a headboard and I'd do a couple of buttons every day. And it would be tufted with buttons, like 185 buttons, right? And I do 5 to 10 buttons a day. And then I post it on social media and people be like, hey, can you make me one? I'm like, no, this is not for sale. This is for my house. I just made this, just as a hobby. So people start saying, you should take that down. I would do tutorials on how to make this or how to make that. They'd be like, take that down. You need to be charging $65. I'll cash app you right now if you make me one. I'm like, what? So when I left North Carolina in 2019, so Coach Hatcher retired. She'd been there for 21 years, maybe 20, going on 22 years. Over 1,000 wins, winningest coach in the country. So she retired, and I was part of her staff. So when the coach leaves, her staff goes with her. They hire a new coach. They bring in their new people who are loyal to them. That's how it goes,
Yeah.
So we all left, and I got some offers to coach, to be a head coach even again. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, now is my time, right? So I transitioned over to entrepreneurship, and I apply the same principles to my program. Like, we won a national championship at North Carolina. We were down by 3. No, we were down by 2 with 7/10 of a second left on the clock. All we needed was a 2-pointer to tie it. Coach was like, no, bump that. We're going for the 3. We're going for the win, right? And so we ran this play. We normally run this for our top scorer, Tanya Sampson, but Coach Hatcher and ran it for Charlotte, who Charlotte had only hit 8 threes in her whole career. Like, huh? Me? So Charlotte hit the 3. We won by 1 at the buzzer.
I remember that.
So when the pandemic hit, we started making masks. Like, the UNC hospitals ran out of masks. It was on the news. They were like, if you know how to sew, we need your help. And here's the email. So we emailed them. They gave us instructions on how to safely make them. And so we started making masks, right? And so my business kicked off during the pandemic making masks. But like in the first maybe 2 weeks, we made $5,000 worth of masks, right? So the post office closed at 5 o'clock. It would be like 4:30, and I live 15 minutes from the post office. So my mom was like, okay, it's 4:30. We need to start wrapping up so you can get to the post office and get these masks to the post office in time. I was like, Mom, listen, it's 7/10 of a second left on the clock. I'm going to do about 5 more masks. She's like, 5 more masks? I was like, so it's like
the competitive nature kick in.
I got this go-to mentality. Like, when the shot clock is going up, that's when I do my best work. So I'm up in the car and get to the post office. I come back. My mom and dad be like, did you get there in time? I was like, bucket.
Swish.
Cut down the nets. What are you talking about? So, but just the commitment, the perseverance that you learn in sports, the loyalty, the go-to mentality, the mental toughness, the tenacity, like all of that is applied to what I do every single day. There are times where I feel like giving up. I feel like, I'm doing something strange for a little piece of change. But, it's just every time I feel like giving up, here come 5 more orders. I'm like, dang, I'm balling, I get back on this machine. So it's happening. Even, I believe that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Yeah.
You never lose if you learn from it, right? And so even when it looks as if I'm losing, I'm learning. And that's helped me just go step by step within my company. So it's been quite the journey. I'm loving it. My mom is one of my seamstress. So we get together. We have 2 craft rooms. I'm in one of them. He has one upstairs, and occasionally we'll do a project where I'm trying to get more light on me. Occasionally we'll do a project where we kind of work together, and we get up, we pray over what we're making. We pray that the people who receive it are blessed. And we pray that God will bless the works of our hands, and that everything that we do will be blessed. And then we start our day. And if we forget to pray, we'll mess up and be like, oh no, we gotta take stuff out. We just are fussing. I'm like, did we pray? My mom's like, no, we forgot to pray. So we hold hands and we pray. And my mom's 80, right? So women, it's a scientific fact that women need like 8 to 10 touches a day.
Oh, nice. School us.
Because we were born nurtured. You know what I mean? Like people pick us up and hold us and rock us, So we grow up needing those touches, especially our senior citizens. And in a pandemic where they don't have as much interaction with people, it's been very, very, it's been very
challenging.
We're creating precious, priceless moments, me and my mom in our craft room, just creating stuff, keeping the world safe with masks. And now we moved away from the mask. We're doing clothes. I'm in my first spring fashion show as a designer.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I used to be.
We got a question for you. Shaka wants to know what motivates you to keep going in your business.
My why. You have to have a why that is so major it brings tears to your eyes. If it doesn't bring tears to your eyes, that's not a big enough why. Yes. My why is that I want to take care of my parents in their senior years. They sacrificed for me. They drove me to AAU basketball games all the way across our state because we didn't have an AAU basketball team in my town. My feet were growing so fast. They kept some Jordan tennis shoes on my feet, and we weren't rich. My dad is a blue-collar steel mill worker. He worked for Willing Pittsburgh Steel Mill. But I had the best of the best shoes always on my feet. And, they sacrificed everything. They didn't go to college because they had kids. They couldn't afford to go to college. They raised us. And so I feel like now is my time. Like this is their season to rest. They deserve to retire in style. So they got a nice roof over their head. They live in a nanny suite upstairs. Me and my husband live downstairs, right? They don't climb steps. I took my dad to the doctor at 2:00. I took my mom to the neurologist at 4:00, right? So they have everything they need. They have a good insurance plan. My dad pays $1 for his insulin. There's some senior citizens that's struggling right now, but my parents be one. That's my why, right? So there's times where I feel like quitting, but I can't. My parents didn't quit their job when I needed tennis shoes and clothes. I had to have school clothes 4 times a year. You know how you get back to school clothes at the beginning of the school year?
Yeah, you're growing so much.
Like that 4 times a year because I was growing like weeds. Like,
how tall are you, Sylvia?
I'm 6'5" now.
And she said she was 6 foot at 12, wearing a size 12.
Yep.
Shoe that is.
Yeah, my age was my shoe size. When I was 9 years old, I wore a 9 women's shoe, which was the size my mom wore. So when I was 9 years old, I was wearing her heels to church. I wore heels on the playground because they didn't make little girls' shoes in the size 10s and 9s. Yeah. So I was playing kickball on the playground with some heels on, twisting my ankle.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, like that's real right there. So yeah, that's my why. And that's what keeps me from giving up. So you got to figure out what's your why. Why do you coach? Or why are you an entrepreneur? Why do you do what you do? And if that brings tears to your eyes, your why is big enough.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. That's deep.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's very powerful. And I know the answer to the question that I'm going to ask you, but I definitely want you to say this for our fans and others out there. With this high level of success that you've had and you've achieved, how hard is it for you to stay humble? Knowing that sometimes the devil he's always busy, always tugging at you, trying to attack in different ways. How do you stay humble in each situation?
Well, yeah, you do already know the answer to this question. I think there's a fine line. Like if you make it to the professional level as an athlete, you have to have a certain level of confidence. Or like I played against Lisa Leslie on TV, Tina Thompson, Yolanda Griffith, like all of them were Olympians at the center position, just about on every team. So if I didn't have confidence on a very high level, I would have got like just washed up and ran out to dry on national TV, So you have to step on the court every single night, believing in yourself, believing in your team, right? And so often athletes really struggle with that balance of confidence and cockiness, right? For me, what helped me balance that is that is my faith. Like, I know without God, I am trash.
100%.
But with him, I could do everything except fail.
Yep.
So my confidence, right? Because there wasn't a league when I graduated, right? So I went to France and I went to Spain. So right around the time when I went to France is where I kind of grew into this. Like, my confidence started to be in my confidence in the God in me.
Yep.
I know my God can do the impossible. I know there's nothing he can't do. So like, my confidence is like, you know, and if you don't know me, you mistake that for cockiness. If you didn't know Kobe Bryant, you would mistake that.
You better say it.
You don't know Candace Parker, you will mistake that for cockiness. But I can't speak for them, but I know for me, I am extremely confident in what lies within me. So therefore, there ain't nothing I can't do. Nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. You already know that you put the work in. And I think a lot of people see athletes and like, oh, they're so arrogant. It's not arrogance. Like, we've put the work in. And
Faith
even
without
as
work
an entrepreneur,
absolutely. You can't not study for your test and then be like, oh Lord, please help me get an A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talk about preparation. Come on now.
You can do it if you wanted to, but you got to do your part, you know?
They say bring those things back to my remembrance, but if you didn't study anything, what is he supposed to bring back?
Right. Right. You don't read your word and you get up trying to preach. You can't send back your remembrance that ain't in the tank, you know? So,
right.
So yeah.
But no, I mean that's awesome. So the crossover for you into the entrepreneurship, you have your why. You're now the CEO in the metaverse of the fantasy team. What's next? Like, what else can you do? What else do you want to do?
I think you got to rephrase it. What can't you do?
Okay, so I have some things on the table. NFTs is my next venture that I'm diving head first into. I don't understand everything about it, but I know that there's room for more than just Shaquille O'Neal to get paid as a former player. Like, there's room in the metaverse for all of us to eat, right?
Exactly.
And so I'm putting together a team right now because, for example, if you look up the blindfold dunk Sylvia Crawley, Getty Images will pull up a picture of it, and you got to pay $499.
Yeah, you better grab it. You better do your
That has been being sold since 1997. I have.
And how much have you? See, that's what I'm talking about. You've gotten zero royalties.
Yeah. And they got 121 pictures of me on Getty Images. That's just one.
Yeah.
So NFTs is a way for me to take back my likeness and image, and I get compensated for that. And anybody who sells that NFT, like right now, I could sign an autographed jersey and sell it to somebody or give it to somebody. They could turn around on eBay and sell it for $5,000.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, nor would I get a cut. With an NFT, it has a smart chip in it. So if you sell it to somebody else, it tracks it, and I will always get compensated for my image and likeness, no matter where it goes, who buys it, sells it. So that's the part that I love about it. So we're creating NFTs of our players for fantasy sports because the WNBA is talking about creating a fantasy sports league for the WNBA. So when they open up their fantasy league, if you want to draft Skylar Diggins, guess who owns her rights in the metaverse?
Come on now. Come on now.
So you got to come through us to get her. If we create those NFTs of our roster. So I can't really talk a lot about it because
still in the works.
But so that's the next wave of what we're doing with our team. We're really trying to market our team. So we're doing jerseys and we're doing like sweats and hoodies for the Bull City Blazers. All of that's going to be on the blockchain. Here's the part that blows my mind. They're creating virtual arenas for these teams right now.
Exactly.
So you can go into the arena, watch the Bull City Blazers play, walk out of the arena and go to Crawley's Creation store, real estate, right? And all my clothes will be on the blockchain, and you can shop from me in the metaverse. Like, that blows my mind. Like that. So
the thing is getting so big, and if you haven't been studying it, it's time. It's not too late. It's definitely time to get on and start studying that metaverse and the whole blockchain and the NFT Yeah.
Carla's being humble.
We didn't even touch on NILs.
Yeah.
Carla's being humble. She's an owner of an NFT. So let the fans know. Carla owns an NFT.
Please tell me what NFT do you own?
I'm in the goat society. I have a goat and a baby ape society. So yeah, that goat one I'm definitely holding on to because I just like being in that society because I mean like there's some major players in that goat society. So yeah.
Explain to me, like it's really actual goats.
Oh yeah, like it's a goat with some rarities. So it's similar to what you're talking about with Skylar and the other players. So their image and you and your blind dunk image. And so it's art NFT.
Oh, okay.
So they drew it. Yeah, they drew the goat. And so in there though, but what comes with being in that goat society is that they have Discord in the rooms that you're in, and you're in the rooms with some major players and they enlighten you about upcoming things, and you're going to only be invited if you're in the Goat Society to certain conferences that are in the metaverse. You could be in a room with Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, some just big time players because you're in, and you have to be in that society to be able to get into that room. So it's it's pretty cool. Just like you guys probably have conventions that are dealing with your league. And you have to be a member or Sylvia Crawley NFT to be able to come into your talks. Like you got to even consider what you could do with teaching people about the sewing and the creation. And so you got a lot of avenues that you can really plug into.
We are rolling out an online sewing class.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I didn't even talk about this, but I'm also a global coach. So I train men and women in India, Africa, and the US. And so my thing is I'm trying to create total athletes, right? Yeah. And so I'm into multiple streams of income because I played for the ABL that folded. I put all my eggs in that basket of basketball. And when the league filed bankruptcy, I had nothing. I had no work experience, no resume, no plan B, and I was fortunate or blessed, I should say blessed enough to land back in the WNBA, back on my feet. But that moment changed my life. I said, never again will I only have one plan. I'm going to have a plan B, C, D, and E, right? That's my message to my players. If you can only shoot, we're only going to put you in a game when we need points.
Right.
Pass, rebound, transition defense. You can remember the plays. You talk. We can't afford to take you out, right?
Exactly.
The object is to stay in the game. Force the coach to keep his hand and have to keep you in the game because you give them so much production that the team can't succeed without you. Right. And the game is sometimes it's basketball, but more than often it's life.
Absolutely.
So my message, I live that out every day. And that's my message to my players. So we want to create total athletes working on their total game. And I start with their physical man, but I end with their spirit man. So I build a relationship with them through sports to the point where I introduced them to Christ.
That's awesome. Well, we're coming. I mean, do we have if we have any questions, anybody watching? We thank all of you, man. Shout out to Javon and Shaka, my sister, Krisha, all of you guys been supporting us and watching all of it. I mean, can't name everybody, but just some of my family. I thank you guys for tuning in. But hey, Sylvia, we're gonna hit you with the hot cross zone. It's like 30 seconds. Some questions that we're gonna ask you.
Okay.
Right? You ready? So, number one, what's your favorite food?
It used to be steak, but I've given up like beef. I eat some beef, but not a lot. So I would say salmon.
All right. Dessert or no dessert?
Dessert. Tiramisu. Tiramisu all day.
All day. All right. You want to play fast or you want to play slow?
Fast. I mean, I come from up-tempo North Carolina. We try to get 100 possessions in one game.
Woo, coming from the big girl, she gonna get up and down the floor. All right, so you're a post player. You like the point guard. If you got to make a pick, you got to pick the point guard or the post.
She already picked.
Big girl. I love to play with point guards. I believe the center got to make the point guard their best friend.
Yeah, they got to work together. They got to work together. All right. So my last question, coming from this field, now you're an entrepreneur. You've been a collegiate player, but degree or no degree?
For me, back when I graduated, I would say degree. For these kids today, I'm an advocate for education, but I think you can survive now without a degree because so many people are starting their own brands. I think COVID changed the way we live and the way we even view education because you can be educated through YouTube.
Yeah, seriously.
YouTube University is like ranked number one in the nation right now.
No student debt or anything, right on YouTube.
Right. So, I mean, I've seen countless people do it without education. I feel like you got so many entrepreneurs right now, right? And the economy is going down. I feel like if something were to happen and you needed to get a job, I feel like you need a degree just to have something to fall back on. But I don't think it's like like people don't even ask me what my GPA was. Nobody cares. They just want to know, like, do you have a BA or you got a master's, you got a PhD? Like, what's your level of education is what they ask.
Right.
Period.
Right.
I don't even care what kind of grades you got. You know what I mean? So I think you can go online and take some courses and get a degree. And these kids know how to be homeschooled.
Yeah.
Like for me,
They know how to do it right online.
Class, get dressed, do my hair. Like that holds me accountable. Right? See my friends. But at home with some snacks and some water and a TV, like
yeah, they busting it out.
I tried to take an online course. I was like, this is not for me. I need an actual class.
Yeah. But we grew up in that era of interaction. They growing up in this internet world where they don't have to have that interaction. Some of them can learn. I mean, I just really think that we were taught, to get the degree because, and it was just in us, but you can definitely succeed in these times. And we've seen it happen where there are 18-year-olds or 17-year-old millionaires from, whether it's in the metaverse or just having a brand or the YouTube, social media, they're making as much money or more money than their parents without a degree.
Let me tell you about my niece. She's a freshman at Howard. Her Instagram name is K-Rock. So that's what people call her at school. I'm like, who? Kayla May?
K-Rock.
K-Rocks, right? She's part of Black Girls Rock, right? So that's kind of how she came up with her name. But she has a pending patent on a device. It's called Find My Gun, right? Because she wants to eradicate teen gun violence.
Wow.
And most of the gun violence that happens with teens starts from guns in the home. So they're developing an app. The Ohio University, which is where my sister went, and I was the head coach at Ohio University. Their engineering department is helping her with this, right? And they get credit for this at their school. But they're building an app where, let's say you had a gun, Carla, and you had a niece that got in your drawer and moved your gun. It would alert you on your app saying your gun has been moved. You can call home, like, put that gun back right now. Right?
Oh boy, that's serious.
Before that child go to school and blow up the whole school like Columbine.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what she's working on right now. She's a national spokesperson for what is it called? Shoot something, not guns. I forget the name of it, but when I tell you, by the time she turns 20, she'll be 20 for 20.
Yeah.
Like, on the 20 for 20 list for sure. Wow. She just won a future difference maker or something like that for AT&T. Awesome. So she put together a film and she won first place. So they flew her to New York. They ended up flying her to the All-Star game. She had I didn't even have tickets. She had tickets. They flew her mom out there. They sat courtside because Howard University played before the All-Star game this year. Okay. LeBron wanted like a HBCU there or whatever. So she had like first class tickets, a hotel, front row seats, like they flew her to New York. There was a band that met her. When she walked into her hotel, the band was playing. I was like, wow. You ain't famous.
She the new superstar in the family.
Listen, and she doing she played basketball, but she didn't go to school on a basketball scholarship. But she got she got everything paid for.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. I'll follow that. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. I think it's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. She's
awesome idea
right now, and she's going to school for film. And I tell you, she went to the women's basketball program. I was like, do y'all have your team photographer? Because I like to see pictures for you. She went to the band, asked them. I have a magazine called Monarch Magazine. It's based in DC. So she called and was like, Auntie, what's Uncle Will's number? And Will was my best friend and business partner of the magazine. I gave her the number. I'm not thinking she's going to call him. She called and was like, Uncle Will, I live in DC because I go to Howard now. Can I take some pictures for the magazine? And so he called me up and was like, Sue, can she handle it? I was like, yeah, she can handle it. My sister's tough on her, you know. So she's doing stuff for Monarch magazine, you know, just behind the scenes from a team's perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We get tickets for red carpet stuff, like if it's an SB Awards or any kind of BET Awards, we get tickets, you know, media credentials. So we'll send her, and she'll do the red carpet from a team's perspective for us. So when I tell you she is doing it, and we used to have to push her to do this stuff. Like she's not outgoing like me. She's kind of introverted until she gets to know you, and then she's outgoing. So we would push her to do all of this stuff. Now she's self-driven. She don't need me and my sister pushing her. Like she is applying for scholarships and different essays and doing film work for stuff and winning contests. Like she pitches her invention. And so this generation of kids, they're on another level.
Yes.
Like when she turned 18, she was organizing for everybody that was 17 years old. They were registered to vote. By the time they turned 18, they was ready to push that button. Like,
that's awesome.
We blow up the world. Like we were voting. She organized that. She organized for when there was a movie out. It was a political movie about teen gun violence. She did a GoFundMe, raised money, rented out a theater, one of the rooms in the theater, and had like all these kids come watch the movie. It was like the premiere of the movie for free. Wow. She had free snacks. She tweeted it, and the author of the book retweeted her back and sent her a box of free books for everybody at the event. Then she had a panel discussion afterwards, and she had people from the police station. She had a pastor. She was like the panel leader, like the facilitator of it.
Awesome.
Like, what? And it went so well that she had enough money to do another one, so she did it twice. I'm like,
that is awesome.
Have
not. That's scripture. Have not, because you ask not. He's asking for everything she wants and going to get it. That is awesome.
She is manifesting it. She's not scared at all. So I'm like, okay. So the next generation of my family is looking lovely. Like they're a world changer. So my mom was like, she just turned 80. She was like 80 years down, 40 more to go.
I know that's right.
120, just so she can see what the grandkids is gonna be when they.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At first I was like, I don't think I want to live to be 120. You watch everybody die, right? You bury everybody.
Yeah.
And that'd be a lonely life. But now I'm like, my mom, like, dang, I gotta live to be 120.
See what the kids are gonna do. Yeah. Well, you guys have led the way for them. You've shown them some things, and they just picked up the torch, and they're going running with it.
They don't even need us for information.
Information. So you just whatever you want to know, it's right there. You can know, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate you so much, Sylvia, for coming on. And it might lead to a part 2 for sure. We can get some more information. We're gonna see how things go. We may have to get K Rocks on here.
Right.
Get the family, and mom, because I didn't see what mom over here cooking up too.
Yeah,
well, we definitely appreciate you.
You financial literacy, which is much needed for all the NILs that's happening right now. So,
definitely.
But I just want to say, follow me on social media. I've been branded, so at Crawley's Creations, IG. That's on Facebook. That is YouTube. That's my business page. If you want to follow me personally, it's at Coach Crawley on IG. I'm on TikTok. Just do a search for my name and you'll find me everywhere. So follow me. We've got some exciting things coming up. I'm always doing something. Takara knows, she follows me. So if I'm quiet, I got something up under my sleeve.
There we go. You in the kitchen cooking if you're quiet.
I like to germinate underground.
Yeah.
I let it take root before I start talking about what I'm doing. I don't like to talk about what I'm about to do. I like to say, here's what I'm doing. News,
there we go.
Update, So
well, I heard this saying, trees grow quietly. So we never hear a tree grow. But you turn around and it's just great. It's big. So that's what you're doing, Sylvia. Just continue to grow, and the people will see everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Until next time.
All right. Take care.
Take
You
care.
too. Have a good one. Man, that was phenomenal.
Man, the legend. Hey,
Information
people
packed.
don't know. Like, you go back and see. I remember that game. I remember watching that game. That
You
game.
remember at the exact moment what you were doing.
I was just like, they going for the. I couldn't believe Coach had called the hammer for the three. I just thought they was going to try to tie it,
But
and she
I
knocked it
can't
down.
let you skip over. Can't let you skip over blindfolded dunk.
The
See, I know that
blindfolded
really
dunk.
went over a lot of people's head,
Yeah, the
but
blindfolded dunk.
blindfolded dunk. That
Yeah.
second, come on now. Back in that time, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that.
We're talking about 90 something. I think 93 or 2. I forgot to ask, but I believe it's like 93 or 2 or something like that.
I won't tell my age. You could go ahead and do that. I ain't telling my age on that.
Yeah. But another great episode, T. I mean, great things happening in the sports arena. And if you didn't get anything else from this episode,
1997. She said 1997.
Oh,
there
right.
we go.
Okay.
1997.
The game, the sports in general, it could be basketball, football, but being in that sports arena builds so much character. When you listen to Sylvia talk, she's learned so much. One, from her background, her relationship with Christ, but two, the game has taught her so much mental toughness, loyalty, way to push forward. And if they don't understand anything else, just get your kids involved in that team sports or individual sports. Just they learn so much from it that can propel them in life. You remember those same things in life,
And don't forget the family dynamic, because she mentioned that her parents sacrificed for her. That's very important. And I know a lot of time parents, sometimes, you guys can get overwhelmed with a lot of things, but your support of just being there,
Right.
I'm quite sure her parents didn't let her quit at anything.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, let your kids go to church, let them do those Easter and Christmas speeches, because it does help in the long run. It helps you become a better speaker.
Yeah, I was up there giving my speech every Sunday. I remember learning I gotta study my speech. It might be 3-4 lines, and then as you get older, you get 10 lines. The lines grow longer and longer, but definitely it's something that I remember and impacted my life. So, I mean, great. Thank you, Mona.
Yeah, we got to get Sylvia back on so she could tell us if she could actually see up under that blindfold. Or she was just going off straight faith.
Right. Yeah. So great episode, T. I mean, until next time, we appreciate all of you tuning in and making the crossover a hit. I love going back and just reading the comments and being able to engage with a lot of you. It's amazing. So, hey, we're gonna continue to grow and get better. Get us a studio. Hey, I see it in the works in my mind. I see it. We'll have a studio and we'll be able to bring it to the people.
And before we let you guys go, we definitely have to share this. Entrepreneurship was on the ticker today. We are a part of a TM5 South takeover. We're having a virtual conference. It's on real estate. We'll be teaching about branding, social media, real estate systems, dual agency, and short sales. That's going to be on May 25th. It's going to be via Zoom. You guys, we have a promo code, both Carla and myself. Yours is Coach Carla. Mine is Takara. You get a 75% discount. And I'm telling you, you can use these things in any industry.
Yeah.
For me, everything I do relates back to basketball and the things that I've learned. So you guys don't miss it.
Don't miss it. Tune in because we're always bringing it to you live, truth. And listen, like we always say before we leave, use the game. Don't let the game use you. Y'all stay safe.
Yep. Have a good night.
All right.